some examples of that. Because even though we usually look at how egalitarian things are, or how Paulinian things are, but you got to realize Paul was also the one who said, "Oh, wretched man am I." He didn't say in passing. He didn't say, "Oh, wretched man I was."
Right.
He didn't say this was yesterday. In fact, he said, "He who is without sin." He who says he is without sin, he's a liar. So then, when we start talking about these lines that's drawn, so the question is, then where is your line? Well, no, we want to give ourselves all the complexity in the world.
Right.
We want to give ourselves, and I'm not saying leeway, I'm talking about complexity. I'm talking about really reconciling our connections to God and to those desires and those things that make up who we are. How do we reconcile those things? Well, again, it's not a line. It is multi-leveled. It is multifaceted. It's funny when people say, "Well, you know, God knows my heart." Well, guess what?
He does.
He does. And his thing is for you to know your heart.
Right.
Do you know your heart?
Right.
And so I think when we approach it from that perspective, it breaks down barriers, and it also lessens the impact of how we judge others when we see them figuring out and reconciling their own hearts.
Man, I love when you say authenticity is inside, because like it's an inside thing, because that gives you the responsibility to work through it. And what you're saying, like as far as it not being a linear aspect to this life or to what we're walking out, I think that's something important for everybody to remember, because you see how it goes, like in our society, somebody who is put on a pillar, that spotlight is on them. And anytime they look like they're about to slip up,
Right. We point
see
fingers.
you.
Right.
But how many of us have done the same thing or something that would be considered worse than that person as they're living out their life?
Right.
The only difference is like people on a certain caliber are doing it in real time in front of everybody.
Right. There's a hot light on them.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's put on display.
Right.
But as we live through and we're being authentic, it's almost like we have that opportunity to work through it without it being on display for everybody.
Right.
So I feel what you're saying. I think also it's not linear, like you were saying. God is so divine that it can't be linear. And I was talking with somebody, and we were discussing how he's not linear, but our minds are. And one aspect you can think about that is the same God who speaks judgment and correction, and you need to do this or this, is the same God who speaks grace, mercy, forgiveness. Why? Because me and you might be at different points in our lives, on different parts of that cycle. You may be at a point where you're beating yourself up because, man, I'm really walking this faith out, but I keep messing up, and I'm trying to do better. I want to do better, and I'm struggling with whatever it is.
Right.
And God is telling you, no, I have grace for you.
Right.
To get you through those moments.
Right.